So we should be live. I'm just going to, like usual, just paste some stuff in the side. Most of you have probably read it by now. If you haven't, just take a look at what's being put in the side. It's just about an email address to send any videos to. If you can't hear me, most of you will have read all this by now. So just put those in the side there, take a read. Hi Faye in the side. So let me know who we've got. Just pop a little message inside for me so that I can have a read. Hi Ben as well. I'm going to give it a minute or two before we get going, see how many people we can get in. Got a little bit of a different topic to talk about today. Hopefully you guys can see me a little bit better today. I've changed the setup a little bit so I can be a little bit closer. It makes it a little bit easier. So quick reminder whilst we wait for everyone to come in, I know most of you are sick of hearing it. Drums 1, our blue book, is in stock, and so is our grey one now, which is, if I can find the front cover, there we go. Our grey one is back in stock now as well, so we can pick all of those up. I would highly recommend those. So Ben, hopefully you've been going through that over the last week since our last YouTube live. Hopefully you found a couple of things in that grey book that are helpful. So I'm going to give it a minute, see who we get on, and then we're going to get talking about something today. So just before we get started with that, I would like to say that if anybody is looking at getting a kit, mainly an acoustic kit or electric kit, do just send an email across to the email that I've put in the side there. It's the schools@themusicworks.co email. So if you are looking to buy a kit, please send an email across to there and we can help you out as much as possible. I am currently trying to buy a kit, which I'll be able to pass along to one of you guys that wants a kit. It's going to be a very, very cheap one, but a very, very good one. I found a very good deal. As long as the bids stay relatively low on eBay, it ends in about an hour or two. Hi Rupert on the side. So yeah, the kit ends on eBay in about an hour or two. Hopefully I'll be able to pick that up for relatively cheaply. I'm looking at spending less than like 50 quid on a full kit, which would be brilliant. And I wouldn't be looking to make anything off of that. Whatever I spend on it, I'll pass along to you guys, for any parents that want to buy a kit. Symbol in the video, I don't have the symbol, so let me have a quick look, see what lesson I sent out to you last Faye. I think I know where we're at. I just need to give myself a quick reminder because I've been working on all your lessons for next week today, so I just need to give myself a quick reminder as to where we got to. I believe it'll be ride symbol or crash symbol. Where are we at? So Faye, you're in our group here. So the song for intro. So yeah, you will be on your ride symbol. If you don't have one of those, that's not the end of the world. So if you do have a crash symbol, you can always use your crash symbol as a ride symbol. So this is my low volume crash symbol here, which is this one, which even though it's intended to be played like this, as a crash symbol, you can use it as a ride symbol as well. As long as we've got some way of practicing it, then that would be brilliant. If not, just send an email over to that schools@themusicworks.co email, and we might have a symbol that we can lend out until schools get back to normal, or we might have something that we can do to be able to help you out a little bit more. You have a drum kit with all the symbols, that's brilliant. So hopefully you've got hi-hats, at least one crash and ride symbol, and that will do you for the majority of stuff that we cover. It's very rare you need any more than that. But like I said, Faye, if you do need help maybe finding one, or if you just need something to practice on for now, then we can help you out with that. So like I was saying, just because I've seen the numbers jump up a little bit, I might have a kit that I'll be able to sell for very, very, very cheaply. Your full kit, so hi-hats, crash, ride, 3 toms, snare drum, bass drum, all the hardware you need, everything you need to get going. And I'm hoping that that will be available to you guys very, very soon. So if you are looking at getting a kit, please just fire an email across and I'll be able to help you out with that. So let's get going with what I want to talk about today, and that is this thing here. This one is mine. A lot of you will know the rough shape of it. This one is a little bit more of an expensive one than you'd usually find on a kit, but this is my bass drum pedal. As you'll see, footboard is there, and then our beater hits our bass drum there. So what I wanted to talk about today with you about this is basically, first of all, how these work and how we can use these in different ways on the kit, different techniques. So what's that inside? We're thinking of buying an acoustic kit. We will email you as suggested. Brilliant. So Ben, hopefully I will have that kit maybe in an hour or two when the bidding ends. I have my phone over here watching it to make sure I definitely get it. So that would be a brilliant kit for you, but it all depends on your budget. So do just send an email across and we will find the perfect one for your budget. So bass drum pedals, please excuse mine, it is a little bit dusty. You do put your feet on them, they do get a little bit dirty. So this is a Sono one. This is the Jojo Mayer pedal. So Jojo Mayer is a drum and bass drummer. He does a lot of really, really crazy things, but he has released a video on hand technique and also a video on foot technique. Those come as DVDs. So he knows a lot about bass drum pedals and bass drum pedal technique. So this is a great pedal. So basically the way that they work, just a little breakdown of them. We have our footboard here. That is our footboard. That's where our foot goes. We've got our heel plate, and the heel plate is hinged along here to let our footboard move. That's our base plate there. Some pedals don't have a base plate. So mine's got a couple of stickers on the bottom there. But some pedals don't have a base plate. They'll just have a little metal frame. Those work too. Not necessarily any better or any worse for having them. So our footboard here connects to our cam at the top. So this one here is a strap-driven pedal. So you see a little black nylon strap there. You can get chain-driven ones, so you'd get a chain from the footboard to the cam at the top. That's the most common bass drum pedal that you come across. I find a strap-drive one to just be a little bit smoother. So there's no links in the chain that could get stuck or anything like that. It's just a nice, strong strap there. But you can get direct driven ones as well, where it's a piece of metal between the foot plate and the cam, and those are really, really strong. And a lot of metal drummers and rock drummers use those to get lots and lots of speed in their feet, because there's a direct link from the foot to the cam. And then we've got our bass drum beater up there. They come in different sizes and materials. The most common one is this one, which is felt. I believe over here on this bass drum I've got this one, which is a lot bigger, a lot fluffier, and it's for getting a really, really soft bass drum sound for jazz music. So when you're feathering, it's called feathering the bass drum in jazz, and you get a much softer sound out of that. But you can get wooden ones, plastic ones for different sounds and different ways of playing the bass drum. But this is the most common one. It's the most generic sound and the most dynamic sound from a bass drum. So we also have one thing that you won't have seen from that side is the spring. One thing I do want to talk about and stress is that this doesn't want to be too tight. So if you do have a drum kit at home, you don't want this to be really, really tight. So the idea of the spring is that when we push our footboard down and our beater hits the bass drum head, as soon as we let go, the spring brings it back to place. That is all that the spring is needed for. A lot of people and a lot of beginner drummers, a lot of people who haven't been playing a long time, get their first kit, the first thing they do is they unwind this and they tighten it all the way down, because they think that with all of this adjustment in here, that's what you need to do, and it's not. This just needs to stay loose enough to bring the beater back to you. Not too loose that it kind of flops back. We want a nice amount of tension in it just so that it comes back and there's a little bit of spring in there. So that's how our bass drum pedal works. And I wanted to talk about two main techniques for playing the bass drum. There's an endless way of playing a bass drum pedal. As long as it makes a sound, there's no wrong way of doing it. Even if you wanted to pick bass drum backwards and play it backwards, it's not a wrong way of doing it, as long as you're getting the sound that you want. So if you can excuse my dirty Vans shoe I'm about to put on here, this is generally where your foot would sit on a pedal. The two main ways of playing it is to have our foot flat like this, or to have our foot like this. So in our lessons, if I move these out the way for a second, in our lessons when we're on the pads, we generally just lift our whole leg up and stomp on the ground. And that's great for when we're on a practice pad and we don't have the pedals, because we just need to get that movement in and to know where our foot is landing. We don't necessarily need to play very quickly or to play with any kind of dynamic. We just need to be able to go, okay, that's where our bass drum goes, brilliant. But when we move it to the kit, we need to think a little bit more about how we are playing it. So we've got our bass drum pedal here. Hopefully you can see that. So the first way of playing is a heel down technique. So our heel of our foot, we want the heel of our foot to stay on the very heel plate, just at the very end there. And we would just rock our ankle, and that's how our bass drum would be played. Our ankle would rock and we'd play the bass drum. That's probably the most basic way of doing it. But the most common way I find of doing it is the way I started playing. It's the way that most people start playing, is that they keep their toes just on this upper portion of the bass drum pedal there. And then when you rock your heel, and just the top of your leg, so not too aggressively, but that plays that there. What we want to avoid with our bass drum is doing this. And slamming our foot and taking our foot completely off the pedal every time we play. Because as soon as we've got to play two bass drums in a row, so say our bass drums are 1 and 1 and, so we're going 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and those two there, as soon as we're having to lift our foot off, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and those two bass drums are going to become a lot of strain on that side of our body. It's going to throw our balance off, because we want a nice balance on our seat. So my feet are off the floor, my hands are off the floor, I'm sat on the drum seat and I'm not going anywhere. As soon as I start moving one of my legs up and down, I'm slowly going to fall to this side. That's what we want to avoid doing. If we're lifting our foot totally off of the pedal, we're slowly going to be working our body over this way, and that's going to throw our balance off, and it's going to stop us from being able to play as quickly with our hands and our feet, because we're so focused on keeping our balance. But if we keep our feet firmly on the pedals, whether it's keeping our heel down and just rocking our ankle, or whether it's keeping our toes on the pedal and pushing down like that, as long as we have our feet grounded, it's not going to throw our balance off in any direction, and we're going to be able to play a lot more comfortably, a lot faster, and it's really going to help us. So all I really want you to get out of this is that we don't want to be lifting our foot off the pedal at all. We want to try and keep either our toes on the pedal, or we want to be keeping our heel on the pedal, and we want to be rocking our ankle. Those are the two main ways of doing it. There is an endless amount of ways. Like I say, with Jojo Mayer and his pedal here, if you have, I doubt you'll have seen the DVD. I've got the DVD, and he talks for a few hours about different ways of playing the bass drum pedal. It's one of those things you'll get into once you're a little bit more advanced with drums, and you get a little bit more into depth with things. You might want to experiment with some of those a little bit and look at some of his content on the DVD and try and find different ways of playing it. So I use a variation of those two, but that's only over time. I started out playing like this, and I would fully recommend that you start either heel down. Heel down is usually found in a softer genre. So if you're playing like jazz music, or you're playing anything that isn't really rock, metal, or like pop music, if you are playing rock, metal, or pop music, this way is generally going to get you a little bit more power out of the bass drum, a fatter sound, and that's really, really going to help you. So the same thing goes for our hi-hat pedal as well. So we've got this one over here, which I won't be able to show you properly because it is massive, but there we go. So we can stand this one on here briefly. So the same goes for this as well. We can have our feet on here and we can have our toes. And if we're playing heel up, we want to keep our toes towards the top of the pedal. And if we're playing heel down, we want to keep our heel on the bottom of the pedal there, and to just rock our heel to keep these open or closed depending on the sound that we want. Our hi-hat pedal isn't too much of a worry at the moment, because even with those of you that are highest ability in this group here, we haven't looked at opening and closing the hi-hats at all yet. We just want to keep them closed at the minute. So that's nothing to really worry about too much. But if you want to start looking at it, see what feels more comfortable, then please do. So if anyone's got any questions at all, please pop some in the side for me and I'll get those answered for you. Whether it's any questions about what we've just been talking about, or whether it's any questions about the lesson I sent out on Monday, if it's anything to do with what you need to be working on over this week. Maybe you've gone through the lesson, you want a little bit more to work on, just let me know. Or maybe you've got the books and you want a little bit of a jump start on next week, then you can certainly ask that and I can tell you a page or two to have a little look at. So just pop any questions in the side if you do have them. Or like I say, send an email over to, so on the side here where you've all been typing, you'll find schools@themusicworks.co. That's the best way of contacting us. So if you are looking at buying a kit at all, please pop an email over to that, or any video responses to the lessons. So if you've been practicing really, really hard and you want to show it off, or maybe you're practicing and you're struggling a little bit with something, then please send me the video as well. And I'll be able to maybe focus on that in our YouTube live next week. Or maybe I can just send you a little email back and we'll be able to help you out that way. So we'll give you a minute or so to see if anyone has any questions at all. If not, we will leave it here in a second. So hopefully you've all been working on hand technique as well, something that you'll see me doing here. So with those doubles and with the fingers as well, you'll be able to get a lot of speed out like that. So I've sent some videos of the songs I've done this and last week. Brilliant. So I will chase them up on those. If you sent them today, I'll probably get them later on. If you sent them a couple of days ago, I'll chase those up, make sure that those get sent to me so that I can see those. But everything I've seen so far, you've been doing really, really well. So I'll chase those up and I'll get a response out to you hopefully later on today if I can get hold of those videos, maybe tomorrow. I would like to add, just thought about it then, if you do have any songs at all that you want to be looking at, so within, okay, sent today, thanks. Brilliant, so I will get them later on today and I'll be able to give you a response, hopefully tonight, and I'll get back to you then. But like I was saying, any songs at all that you guys enjoy listening to or want to be able to play along to, I know in the lessons I'm sending out at the moment, I'm sticking just to Yamaha content, so just the songs that come in the blue book. So if you've got the blue book, you'll have this in the back, and all of the songs that we've been looking at in the lessons have been coming from that blue book. And before all of this happened, we were looking at some more contemporary tracks. So we use, a lot of us looked at Someone You Love by Lewis Capaldi, and a few other songs as well. I'm generally sticking to the Yamaha stuff just because because we're uploading the videos to YouTube, we don't want to be flagged for copyright on any of those. We have the rights to use that music in our videos, but we don't necessarily have the rights to other people's songs to be able to use them in our lessons. So I'm trying to stay away from any copyright claims on our videos, which is why we've only been using the Yamaha content. But as soon as things get back to normal, which fingers crossed will be September is really looking at now. But in September, once things get back to normal, we'll be able to look at some of those songs. But for the time being, so Foo Fighters, Okay, brilliant. I can send some ideas over for you, Ben. Any groups we've looked at or any fills or stuff that we've looked at that fit those songs, I'll be able to send them over to you. And that's the point I'm getting at, is if there's any songs at all that any of you enjoy and you want to be able to play along with, I'm more than happy to put videos together in addition to the stuff that you're already getting weekly. It's just a little bit of a, okay, we'll use this exercise from this lesson and this exercise from this lesson, put them two together, and we'll be able to play along to that song. No worries, Ben. So I look for some Foo Fighters stuff for you. I know there's a lot of Foo Fighters stuff that we'll be able to go across, because the drum parts in those songs, some of them can be quite complex, but there is some tracks in there where it's a little bit more simplified, or at least we'll be able to do something with those, which will be great. So yeah, any more questions at all? Give it another 20 seconds. Get those in quick if you do have any. No more questions. Perfect. So if you do think of anything between now and next week and it needs answering urgently, schools@themusicworks.co, just like in the side, send that email across and I'll get the question answered. Anyone looking to buy a kit, schools@themusicworks.co, and I'll be able to sort you out for your budget, whether your budget is £50 or whether your budget is £1,000. We can sort you out for a kit. That's not a problem. But until next week, guys, enjoy practicing and keep it up. Thank you very much.